They marched onto my property with clipboards and confidence, until a single, controlled shot from my rifle turned their survey into a scene of panic. This was no accident. It was a warning they never expected. They called themselves Surveyors from the HOA and walked straight across the yellow stakes that marked my property line like they owned the street. I watched from the kitchen window as 3 of them stepped over the gravel and started measuring, clipboards clicking, feet trampling my tulip beds. I'd spent months trying to settle this with paperwork, deeds, certified surveys, emails to the board that got ignored. When men in matching jackets started acting like enforcers, I knew words were done. I'm no hothead. I'm licensed, trained, and careful. I also know the thin line between property disputes and seizure. I stepped into the yard and called out, "You're on private property. Leave now." My voice was steady, but they kept working, smiling like they had authority stamped on their jackets. One of them laughed and said, "We're doing our job." There are moments you feel time slow. I moved to where I knew they could see me, raised my rifle in a non-threatening defensive posture, sling visible, finger off the trigger, and shouted again, "Leave, now!" They still didn't move. So I did what I'd trained for. A single, controlled shot into the open ground a few feet in front of them, not to hurt, but to stop. The report cracked through the afternoon like thunder. Papers flew. The men froze, eyes wide. Their bravado collapsed into caution. 2 of them turned and ran toward their truck. The third stumbled back, phone already in hand. Within minutes, the real authorities arrived. Police called by a neighbor who'd heard the shot. And the HOA surveyors were left explaining why they'd crossed a clearly marked property line. No one was hurt. Officers took statements, checked my licenses, and escorted the trespassers off my land. Later, the HOA had to answer for unlawful entry, and the board received formal complaints. Neighbors who had shrugged at Karen's petty power plays finally asked why they were letting a few people bully a whole street. I didn't want violence. I wanted my property respected. That day, a single, decisive act ended the game of intimidation. Sometimes stopping bullies doesn't need a verdict in court. It needs a boundary that everyone understands.
I am Liam, and trust me, the next HOA story is even worse. Subscribe now.